Go ahead. Turn it up. It's the Record Machine Show with your host, Jimmy Howe.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the band Love and Chains, singer Rob Kane, guitarist Mike Floros, and bassist Jason Cornwell. How you doing, guys?
We're fantastic. How are you?
Pretty good. It's a nice day here in North Myrtle Beach. It rained like hell before, and now it's beautiful out.
You live down there?
Yeah, I live in North Myrtle Beach.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I love Myrtle Beach. It's a lot of fun.
The last time we spoke on the air about Love and Chains was June of 22. Since then, you've released a brand new EP titled the Rust Belt EP, which will drop at the end of May on all streaming platforms. This EP is an all covers, 6 songs in total. How did you arrive at the 6 songs?
Well, I think Rob and the guys will agree. This was kind of like a joint effort. Rob and I are originally from Youngstown, Ohio, which is part of what they call the Rust Belt, which is the steel production area in the Midwest that was responsible for doing things like, manufacturing steel for cars. And Akron had the rubber plant, Toledo made the glass. So that whole area was called the Rust Belt. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to kind of pay tribute to the area because they had some really great artists. And so we just kind of kicked around some artists and some songs, some ideas, and like, how can we pay tribute to our hometown? And that's kind of what we came up with. So there you go.
And I actually have a connection to that as well. So I didn't grow up there, but my wife is from Kent, Ohio. So I get some of the Ohio vibe going on as well. So I am there quite frequently. So I definitely appreciate the area and the Rust Belt. There's actually a club too, which is kind of cool, which is called the Rust Belt, but in Indiana. But
Of all places.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rob?
Well, we threw around some ideas, talking about the Rust Belt. So, like Mike said, we grew up in Youngstown area. So we were halfway between Cleveland, halfway between Pittsburgh. And we just kind of thought about, like, growing up, who were all the bands, both locally, nationally, and even like semi-nationally, that we heard and influenced us. And so we went through some of that talent, and then settled on certain bands, and that's what made the cut.
Can you talk about each track and why you chose it?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Rob actually chose the first one of the first tracks on there. The first two tracks actually, which is Cleveland Rocks and Born and Raised, which he can kind of elaborate on the reasons why we chose those if you like.
Yeah, I remember as a youngin' listening to the radio, like around the Bon Jovi days, right, when Runaway was out, and shortly after that, this band called Beau Coup out of the Cleveland area kind of was getting played on a huge radio station in the Cleveland called the Buzzard, WMMS, with Born and Raised on Rock and Roll. That was like a big hit. And little known fact, Tim Pierce, who was the guitar player, the session guitarist who worked with Bon Jovi on that first Runaway album, actually worked with Beau Coup on their album. But that was one of the hits, and we were all born and raised on rock and roll. So that was one that definitely made the cut.
Yeah, that was a really cool song, and it was something that Rob initially sent to me. When I heard it, I was kind of shocked. And again, with us being from the Midwest, and with Jason having ties from the Midwest, we're kind of shocked. We're like, Beau Coup, we're the people that would know, and it's no disrespect to Beau Coup because I think they're fantastic, and they were one of those regional, like semi-national acts that, they really just they were really cool. And back in the day, it was like you heard that song and we all loved it, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I can get behind this. And then so we just decided to kind of, I guess, make it a little heavier than what it was, because Beau Coup was a really great rock band, but we're more of a melodic hard rock band.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of added some heavier guitars and put a lot of harmonies on that song, and came out fantastically. One of our friends, who's actually also in the band Lazarus, which was from Youngstown, he kind of chuckled and he said he told us, he's like, well, and he told me specifically, he's like, Mike, you have a profound way of making everything that you play sound like the rock band Europe. So, I mean, it was kind of funny because it kind of does have a little bit of a Europe / Q Marcello vibe in the guitar solos. But man, Rob's vocals on that song they're really killer. And it came out extremely well. I would have to say that, of the 6 songs we've done, it's definitely one of my favorites, for sure. And it was so nice to actually, we wrote the guys from Beau Coup through Facebook, and we told them how much we dug the song, and we were hoping that we'd be able to use that as like our first lyric video for the Rust Belt EP, and they were really gracious and they were really kind, and so we're really thankful that they're kind of on board with us doing it too.
Nice. Did they like the version, I assume, right, when they heard it?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant version. I really dig the version that you guys did. I think it's phenomenal.
Well,
It sounds like it's your song. Like you owned it for sure.
Oh wow! Well, thank you very much. I mean, like I said, all credit for that goes to Rob, because like I said, the Beau Coup tune was his idea, and we just kind of put that together, and between all of us, we were just like, yeah, this is a really kick-ass tune, And like I said, they wrote a great song to begin with, and that's the key. You have to remember that's Beau Cou's song. They wrote a fantastic song, and like I said, we were just super thankful that they were on board with us, with us using the tune.
Mm-hmm.
That was really awesome. Yeah, so big props to them too.
Voodoo is on there, a Michael Stanley band cover. Who chose that one?
That would be me. The reason why, a few years back when Michael Stanley had passed, I really wanted to do something to kind of pay tribute to Michael Stanley, because growing up in Youngstown, and as Jason knows, Jason also knows of Michael Stanley as well. Side note, I wore a Michael Stanley band shirt to one of our live shows, and his wife was like, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome!"
Oh yeah, I found the vinyl recently too.
But yeah, that's right. Jason just bought the Michael Stanley band Heartland LP,
Yes.
which this song is actually off of Heartland. I've always loved the song Voodoo. One of the greatest, when you remember back to your teenage years, and some of the most fun nights that you've had, for me, was going to the Star Theater in Youngstown to see Michael Stanley Band. It was probably, like I said, probably one of the highlights of my teen years. I've always loved the tune Voodoo. So I kind of arrived there, and when I shared the vocals with Rob, because Rob is our lead singer, there's no doubt about that. But Rob was like, the vocals sound good, and I probably could have imitated Michael Stanley a bit more if I really wanted to, but I tried to put my own vocal spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a fun tune to play, and we really had a good time with that tune as well. I love that song. I always have.
Great song, and you did a good job on it. It fits your tone, I believe.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, the funny thing is, when we're in, Jason's a part, in two bands that I'm in. So Jason gets to hear, me trying to sing vocals for Rob, me trying to sing vocals for Roy Caffey in Steel City, and, he tried to hit these notes that, on, my best day that I probably still couldn't hit. So he gets to hear all the comedy when I'm sending these things out. And, but this song that was probably, you're right, James, this is probably more in my wheelhouse, and it was a lot of fun to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Mike sounds fantastic. He's a great vocalist and a sensational guitar player.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really dug the guitar work on this album. I think it's pretty phenomenal. Kudos to you, Mike.
Yeah, he's
thank
explosive. Some of the leads on there are just unbelievable.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, there's also a Donnie Iris song on there. Who picked that one?
It's kind of a joint decision between all of us, because that's
I think so.
Kind of a classic song. And it's got that really cool bass line, that bum 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 dum bum. And it's just really just that bass line kind of just drives the tune. And so that's really cool part for JC. And then we just love the song. It has brilliant harmonies, and again, kudos to Rob, because Rob is kind of the master of our harmonies. We just more or less kind of follow his lead on that. And he just, when he told me, he's like, yeah, I could sing that song. And I'm thinking of the end of Aaliyah, where Donnie Iris just starts hitting these ridiculous falsetto notes. I'm like, okay, prove it. And then when he did, I was like, holy shit, dude, you can sing that song. And Rob and I when we were talking about it, JC as well, we're talking about this as a band. We're like, do we want to do those middle parts, and all that? And it just felt like, that was so perfect the way Donnie did it. And we just, in my mind, just couldn't get that just the way we wanted to. So we all kind of agreed, let's just leave that out and make it a little heavier as a result.
Nice. Yeah, that one came out great as well. There's also a Kool in the Gang song on there. Who picked that one?
That might have been, was that me, Rob? Did I pick that one?
That was all you, Mike. Yeah. It's a great song.
Misled.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And again, my biggest love on this album, quite honestly, is the vocals, because I think, when you're going from a song like Born and Raised, to Donnie Iris, to to another song like Kool in the Gang, I think when you do that, the vocal, the dynamics of the vocal from song to song to song, just really they kind of showcase Rob's abilities, and that to me was just fantastic. And I think it's this. My favorite part about this album is just the dynamic of Rob being able to go from bands like Beau Coup, to White Noise, which we'll talk about in a minute, to bands like Kool and the Gang. It shows his dynamics vocally, that he could sing anything. He could sing the phone book and it'll sound fantastic.
I agree. I think he's phenomenal.
Yeah. And the reason why we chose that song is because the Kool brothers are actually from Youngstown, Ohio. Because I remember, when we were younger, Robert Kool Bell came on one of the local radio stations, and his promo was, "Whenever I'm in Youngstown, my hometown." That's why we chose them, because while they're from New Jersey, their roots are from Youngstown, Ohio. And I just thought it would be really cool to have like an R&B type song on there. And it has a little bit of a rock vibe to it. And so we just, we had a blast with it. And for me, the guitar stuff at the end of that song, not necessarily the middle solo, but the end of the song, that was a blast to play, because it's kind of out of my wheelhouse and it has a little bit more of a bluesy feel.
Yeah, came out great though.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Now, which songs are we missing here? Did we cover all of them? We got Voodoo, Aaliyah, Misled, Born and Raised. There's two more, right?
Rescue Me, Me, and Cleveland Rocks.
Okay.
Yes, Rescue Me and Cleveland Rocks.
All right, let's talk about those two. Rescue Me first. How did you arrive at that one?
Rob, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, we were talking about different people, different artists, and it came up. There were a few like really big local artists in the Youngstown area growing up that really influenced us, and one of those was White Noise, who later became Noisy Mama and got signed to Atlantic Atco in like the late 80s, early 90s. But they were the huge draw, and great friends of ours. And so we talked about, hey, let's do a White Noise song. Which one? And I think Mike threw out Rescue Me, and I took a listen to it and went, oh, hell yeah, that's awesome. Let's do that one.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that was the White Noise. I mean, just to give you a little backstory on them, as Rob said, it's Noisy Mama is the band that probably everybody would be most familiar with, and that was their name when they were signed to Atco Records. Before they were signed to Atco, they were called White Noise, and their sound was something that was literally completely different from what is on that Noisy Mama album. But when they would play, again, the Star Theater, where I saw the Michael Stanley Band and so many other bands like Bon Jovi and Night Ranger, all these bands rolled through the Star. These guys were the house band, and they would play there every weekend. And going to see White Noise was like going to see, honestly, like Kiss. They had a stage show with like steel girders everywhere, flamethrowers, smoke. It was nuts for a local band to have all of this stuff. And they would always open up with Rescue Me. And Rescue Me, it was really cool because they came out with the old Roland synthesizer guitars that they had, and it was just a great tune. It got the crowd pumping. And when we thought about it, I'm like, that's the song we've got to do. And so we just, again, put our spin on it. And these guys, again, fantastic dudes, much like the guys in Beau Coup, when we contacted Paul Scourin and some of the other fellas from White Noise, and we just said, hey, this is our version of your song. What do you think? They wrote us back, and they were like, dude, this is badass. We
Nice.
really like it, and we're thankful that we're kind of humbled that you guys would A, remember the song, which of course we would, and B, just do it justice. And so it was really, for us, these guys, when we were growing up, everybody's got heroes like Ace Frehley or Paul Stanley, or they've got Van Halen. For these guys, they were every bit as much as our heroes as those guys were, because these guys were Youngstown guys that were making. So for us, it was just kind of like, just wasn't even a thought. We have to put them on that, and it's just so cool that these guys actually dug it. So,
yeah, that's pretty cool that they did like that. And the song Cleveland Rocks, what's the story with that one?
Again, that was one of Rob's choices, so we'll let Rob run with it.
Nice.
Oh, that was another one, just talking about the area and Youngstown, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. We were like, yeah, we got to throw that one on there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's the, rock and roll capital, right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. there's like so many musicians that are connected to that area. It's unbelievable. Like Eric Singer from Kiss. I mean, he's from Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's quite a few dudes for sure.
I really dig this EP, but I will say I do have two favorite songs, and they're going to be featured in the podcast. Born and Raised and Voodoo are my favorites.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Now, you guys released a lyric video for Born and Raised on Rock and Roll. Will there be a music video for any of the other singles on this EP?
Quite honestly, just to be 100% truthful, I highly doubt it. I would more than likely say we probably release, more lyric videos for this one. And there, for our next full-length album, Originals album, I would say there will definitely be music videos involved for that. But for this particular one, since this is essentially going to be a streaming release only, more than likely, no. We'd love to, but again, we're kind of spread out across the United States, and it makes it a little bit difficult. But for the next album, there will most definitely be a music video, if not a couple.
Very cool. Now, what's the story behind the title of this EP, The Rust Belt, and what does it mean for the folks who live in the northeastern and midwestern states?
It's a good question. Thank you for asking it. I think we could, Rob and I, and Jason, we could all kind of attest to this. Again, the Rust Belt itself, again, places like Youngstown, Ohio, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Toledo, Akron, Detroit, Michigan. Just thinking about it now, we probably could have included a romantic song on there from Detroit. But these are the places where the steel production loomed large. The automotive industry, loomed large. At one point, it was truly great. I mean, I know it's not what it once was, but because of that, the area itself was known as the Rust Belt. And again, we just wanted to pay tribute to the area, and hopefully the people that are from our hometown and people that are from that Midwestern area can appreciate how much we love and respect the area itself. And so that we just wanted to more or less pay tribute to our hometown, pay tribute to the area, pay tribute to the industry that more or less created and grew the area to what it is now. That's the reason why we chose that particular name. Nice.
Anyone else have anything to add to that question?
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much sums it up. And it's just there's also an attitude, right, of the people that came from the Rust Belt. Cleveland has got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you've got the Pittsburgh being the Steel City and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's just like it's a small town, never give up kind of attitude here. And so we just kind of wanted to pay tribute to the area and the music that we grew up listening to from this area.
What is the recording process like when taking another artist or band song and making it your own?
I think it's just you obviously get that vibe from the original, but then kind of including your own take on it. And then you kind of, feel like, this is my take anyways, you kind of modernize it, taking classic rock song and bring it into the 21st century. You don't want to ruin it, but you want to make it sound better. So, and, put your own stamp on it.
For sure.
Now, when you take another artist or a band song and you re-record it, from a legal standpoint, do you have to contact them first and get permission? Or because you're not releasing it on an album, you didn't have to do that?
Well, no. What the legal process is, for us, like I said, since we're only doing this on a streaming-only basis, we're not releasing physical copies. Usually there's something called song file that you would... And what that does, it's something called song file. And what you do is you list the album or you list the song to the song file, and you go through the legal process with them in regard to compensation for the original artist. We went through a digital distributor called DistroKid, and what they do is when you let them know that it's a cover song, it covers all of it. They take care of that whole process for you. And so with each stream or with each song, every time that song is streamed, the original artist gets their cut because that's handled through the distributor, which is DistroKid. They're the digital streaming distributor. I hope that makes sense from a legality standpoint. Now, do we need to ask the artist? Technically, no, you don't. We tried to contact the artists that we knew we could contact, that we knew that we could reach out to them. And again, most of them were gracious. There was one that kind of did not like our spin on their song. Now, mind you, we could have left that song on the EP, more or less as a, but since they really didn't like the vibe of our release, what we did is we went ahead and pulled it, and it just to make sure that they remained, they'll remain anonymous, but you technically don't have to ask.
Yeah, I guess you can't please everybody, right?
You try, and I mean, when you've got essentially what sounds like a wall of Marshalls, stacked harmonies, Rob who could sing the phone book, and some killer guitar solos, and they didn't like it. You're like, okay, that's your thing, man.
Yep.
We'll say no harm, no foul.
Like I mentioned earlier, Born and Raised, man, that song sounds like you guys wrote it. You know what I mean? It just fits perfectly with you guys.
Well, again, kudos to I believe the credited writer when I looked it up on Songfile was Dennis Lewin. So props to those guys, and props to them for writing such a fantastic song. I mean, it's a really great tune. So, and the nice thing that makes that for us, it made it a little bit more unique is Love in Chains is definitely a more guitar based band, but we had Tony Stahl, our brother in arms from Steel City, come in and do some keys on that song as well. And I think his touch really made it kind of magical.
His touch on Voodoo too, right?
My bad. I forgot to mention that. Yes, Tony also did the keys on Voodoo.
Yeah, phenomenal job on that. It's like stellar, perfect. I love the way it came out.
Yeah, it's a great tune. Rest in peace, Michael Stanley, for making such a fantastic song.
Definitely.
Yeah, and when we'd like to say again, thank you to those who did listen to these and give us their blessing and some great feedback. And, we love you guys. We appreciate, they're letting us do this, as well as, the great feedback is, these are great songs. They wrote them, and it's our tribute and our honor to be able to do them.
Yeah.
They should be honored that you did do them and did them so well.
Like I said, we're just playing their music, man. So
which song on the EP resonates with you personally, and why?
Rob?
There's probably two for me. Born and Raised. I think that's just that's such a great rock anthem. It's got that. Even the original has that beat, kind of like the dun dun. It's kind of like that. The Queen song, "We Will Rock You." It's just a great rock anthem. And for me, I guess Aaliyah, I always loved the high vocal part at the end. And I think when we were doing this too, Donnie Iris, they call him King Cool, he just turned 80.
Wow.
And he's still out there doing it and singing that high and just putting on a hell of a show. So I hope when I'm freaking 80, I'm still doing this.
100%, man. Man, that guy's awesome.
Yeah, he's badass.
Mm-hmm. JC?
I mean, what was the question again? I apologize.
Which song on the EP resonates with you personally the most?
Oh, the Donnie Iris song, I have to say, because I was always a big fan of him. He broke nationally with Love Will Rock You. So I'm just, I just love that tune.
Yeah. For me, oh gosh, I like them all so much, and there's different parts about each song that just really kind of resonate with me. I will say this: it's not because there's probably two of them for the most part. For me, it would probably be Voodoo, just because I'm a huge Michael Stanley fan. Always have been, always will be, and like I said, for me, that was more or less like when I actually first did it. It was like a tribute to Michael Stanley. I recorded that right after his passing. So that was for me the big thing. And then of course, once I brought it to Love in Chains, we all kind of put our spin on each thing there. That would be one. The other would probably be the White Noise tune. And the reason being is because, again, seeing these guys, it was like an event every single weekend, and you just couldn't wait for the weekend to get there to go out and see Paul Schuyler and Jimmy Gamina and the guys, and they were just killing it. And you're like, these guys are from Youngstown. They're going to make it. This is what I want to do. And that was a song that really inspired me when I was younger. And I'd say for that reason, that's another song that really kind of resonated with me. And it just always stuck with me. And I remember being shocked when Noisy Mama came out, and I'm looking for songs like Rock Me, and, I'm looking for Rest Me, and none of them are on there. I'm like, what? Now, mind you, the Noisy Mama album itself was fantastic, and I love it, and I still dig it, and I still listen to it. But those white noise tunes always had a special place in my heart, so that, for sure. Those two were probably the biggest ones for me.
Nice choices. Now, what's the toughest challenge being a newer band in a retro genre?
Oh, that's a really good question. Guys, do you have any thoughts on that?
Biggest challenges, I would say live, honestly, in a retro genre, because, it's kind of ruled by the festivals. You've got like M3, you've got Monsters of Rock, you've got the Rocklahomas, you've got Rockfest and stuff like that. So it kind of gives you a false sense, which I hate to say. So, you can go out with a newer band doing the retro genre, but a lot of times you're not going to get the capacity that you get at these festivals. So you're looking, smaller venues, et cetera, across the country, as opposed to if you do the festivals. Hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Rob?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, also just in terms of sales and getting stuff out there, it's a limited audience, but then, it's probably really a limited audience for anybody in music these days, unless you've got the backing and you're somebody like, Taylor Swift. The music industry has just changed so much with streaming and physical sales being so different today in technology, that it's hard, I think, for any band, regardless of what your genre is, to really, get your music out there and get people to listen. I shouldn't say to listen, to make money at it. You can get people to listen to you, but they all want to do it for free.
Right.
The thing is, I'll say, what the guys have already said, it does hold true. And you have to remember that, for the most of us, most of the people that like this music are right now in their 50s, maybe even, late 40s, 50s, maybe in their early 60s. And that's kind of where our audience is. So, your audience is somewhat limited. So that's definitely true. And because of that, you're talking about, you can't buy nostalgia. These bands that, when you're going into these bigger shows, like the M3s that Jason mentioned, or the Monsters of Rock Cruise or whatever, they're not going to be looking at bands, like Love and Chains or, other bands that are I guess, like us, that are your newer band, even though, you might be older as gentlemen. You're a newer band, so you don't have that nostalgia built in. People aren't looking for Love and Chains to go into, M3 or whatever. And as a result, the promoters, again, they're looking to, have those nostalgic bands so they can bolster their sales, bolster the attendance. And so it kind of puts us between a rock and a hard place, because that the music is good. That, and I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything like that or self-serving. That's not it. But, you as an artist, you have to feel like you can hang with these people, with these legacy acts, but you're probably really not going to get that opportunity because you don't have the nostalgia built up they do. And people, in my mind, I guess a little bit, people kind of sleep a little bit on the American bands as well. They always look to Europe to say these bands, they love the European bands, and as they should. They're fantastic. There's a lot of killer European bands out there. My personal favorite band that's out right now is Maverick. Mm-hmm. But it kind of leads me to believe that people kind of sleep a little bit on the American bands as well. Not just American bands, but perhaps the North American bands, like the Canadian ones. There's some really fantastic bands that are pretty much in our backyard. And I think it would be great if people just kind of open their eyes and ears to that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. What's next for the band? Any upcoming shows or projects?
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, we are in talks with some different drummers because Brian Carl he doesn't really have as much time for the Love and Chains thing as he was having in the past. So we're going to have to search out a new drummer. Mm-hmm. We've got somebody in mind for sure. We've got a couple of guys, and so we're going to find ourselves a new drummer. And we've already pretty much nailed down, like I'd say somewhere between 12 and 15 songs that have been written by all of us to choose for the next album. So that should be, pretty fun. The pre-production part of that is pretty much done. We just have to choose the songs now and then move forward and find our mix engineer and just make the production happen. When the album will come out, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm thinking like probably early next year. It probably seems like about right. And then hopefully, with
Makes
that,
sense.
we'll be able to, hopefully we'll be able to play some shows. And where we'd like to play the shows the most is actually in the Rust Belt. We'd like to get back to Youngstown, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Akron, places like that, because that's where our roots are.
Nice. Rust Belt tour, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Wouldn't mind that at all. Maybe
Well-
we can attach ourselves to like a nice, a good artist, and do 3-4 shows or something like that with them, and that'd be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Will there be new merch for this release?
Yeah, more than likely it'll probably be based off of the album cover, and perhaps like a couple of new shirts or something like that we can do. Our designer, I've reached out to our designer. I'm just kidding. The designer's me. I've got a couple of things in the hopper that I have not released yet on the idoraentertainment.com website, or the idoraentertainment.com shop, and we'll probably be putting those out with the Rust Belt.
Cool. Now, besides your website that you had just mentioned, you guys are also on Bandcamp as well. Now, will the EP be available on Bandcamp?
More than likely, the answer to that is yes.
Cool.
So as long as it's able to be uploaded through Bandcamp, it'll be there. If not, then it'll just be out for the streaming platforms, and that's okay. But the plan is, of course, to have it on Bandcamp as well.
Nice. Now, is there anything you guys would like to mention that we didn't talk about today?
JC?
We're just really excited to get this product out there, and potentially on the road, and of course the music to everyone.
Yeah, I just, want to say, thanks for having us on. Thanks to the fans for listening. We were looking forward to, putting this EP out there, and then looking forward to, the next all original, getting out there and playing for people, and, doing what we love to do.
Awesome. Mike?
Well, Rob just pretty much summed it up, and that is, of course, thank you again, James, for having us on. We always appreciate that. We
You're welcome.
really do appreciate, being a newer band, trying to grow the audience. We really do appreciate when people like us on Facebook or like us on Instagram or, social media. Those are really the two main ones that we utilize. So, we invite people to check us out. We invite people to like us on our social media. And we really do appreciate people for listening to us, and we want to thank them for that. And like I said, hopefully with the next album, we'll be able to get out and do some shows. Hopefully in the Midwest. We know a couple of promoters also that are kind of down by you, so maybe we'll be able to get a show in there as well.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach would be awesome. I love playing that place.
Yeah, that would be cool to see you guys.
I'd love just to be able to get out of Los Angeles, even if it's only for 5 minutes.
Oh, well, LA is awesome. I want to apologize, guys, too. I got pulled into some work call. I do IT from home, networking, and I got pulled into this call, but I shooed them away, so I know it's the end of
Are you trying to say that, you're not, driving a Lambo based on all the money that you're earning in rock and roll business?
I could only wish.
What's with all the musicians in IT?
That's
Just kind of flow. Well,
Well,
That's
funny
what I do
story.
too.
If Jimmy,
yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. If Jimmy has time for it, here's a funny story.
Go for
I'm a neonatal pediatric intensive care respiratory therapist. That's my job by trade. And when I first met Tony Stahl, the keyboard player in Steel City, and of course the guest star on this album, he also mentioned to me that, I'm a respiratory therapist as well. So that's great. And then he also was a pediatric and neonatal respiratory specialist. Not only that, when he was still working, he's since retired, that lucky bastard. We also had the same exact work schedule. It was like a brother from another mother for certain. So it's like, I guess everything runs in pairs. You've got 2 IT guys, 2 respiratory therapists, so it's kind of neat. It's kind of cool.
Maybe the new drummer will do both.
Maybe.
You never know. He's a respiratory therapist who programs IT for, charting purposes or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible,
that'd be fantastic. Why not? The drummer will end up, what'll end up being is the drummer will end up being the smartest guy in the band. Maybe like a rocket scientist or something. You never know. But But anyway, thank you again so much to everybody who's listening. Thank you, James, for having the interview. We do appreciate it so much, man.
Well, you're welcome. And like I said, guys, I think you did a phenomenal job on this EP. And I want to tell everybody out there who's listening right now, you better go check it out when it's available on all the streaming platforms. It should be, in about 2 weeks, something like that?
Yeah, we had an initial release date by May 28th.
Right.
I don't know. So it should be out there before the end of the month for sure. And
Awesome.
we'll make announcements on our socials for that to make sure that people know where to listen, how to find it, all that other fun stuff.
Check out the video too. It's on YouTube. Born and Raised. That's a great cover, guys. You did a great job on it. Great job on the album. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's always great catching up with you guys.
It's good to be here.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and let's stay in touch. All right.
All right, man.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Stay minty fresh.
All right, man. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Machine Show is a weekly radio podcast produced by Jimmy Howell Productions. All rights reserved. For information regarding distribution or adding this podcast to your website, please visit our contact page at therecordmachineshow.com to submit your request. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Record Machine Show.
The Record Machine Show.